Hello, I'm Nayra Rodrigues. I'm an astrophysicist by training, and I work as an astronomy education programs coordinator at the Instituto de Astrofísica de Canarias, the IAC. One of these programs is PITER, which stands for Educational Project with Robotic Telescopes in Spanish. PITER is an inquiry-based online lab that allows schools to carry out their own observations and research projects in astronomy using robotic telescopes. It's open to the participation of the entire Spanish educational community from primary to secondary school and vocational training, and also to schools from other countries that collaborate in specific projects with national schools. Therefore, we have to be able to respond to the needs of a wide range of educational levels and a large number of users. If we want to set up an educational project with robotic telescopes, one of the first aspects to consider is, of course, which telescope we are going to use. And here we have mainly two options. Install and operate one ourselves. This is the option presented to us by Sasha Hoffman, or access through an institution that provides telescope time. This is the case for PITER and other projects in this session, and the one I will focus on. In PITER, we use two approaches that give us access to observations with several robotic telescopes. The first is the one that can be followed by institutions with guaranteed time on such telescopes. The IAC is a Spanish research center in astrophysics that operates the observatories of the Canary Islands. Thanks to the excellent astronomical quality of their skies, these observatories host the telescopes of some 60 institutions from more than 20 countries, which contribute a share time of their observing time to Spain. The IAC allocates part of this guaranteed time on some robotic telescopes to the Spanish educational community through PITER, and in this way, PITER users have access to the following telescopes. The first one is the Liverpool Telescope, which is a 2-meter fully autonomous telescope owned and operated by the Liverpool John Moores University and installed at the Roque de los Muchachos Observatory. PITER users can directly request observations with the LT through the National Schools Observatory portal. Also, they have access to Pirate and Coast telescopes, which are 60 and 40 centimeter robotic telescopes that belong to the Open University and are installed at the Tate Observatory. And to the 1-meter class telescopes of the SARA network, which are 3 remote control telescopes located at Kitt Peak, Cerro Tololo, and Roque de los Muchachos Observatory. The second way to access observations with robotic telescopes is to establish partnerships with institutions that own them. We use this approach to give our users access to the 40 centimeter telescopes of Las Cumbres Observatory, participating since 2018 in the Global Sky Partners program. Our users can directly request their observations through the LCO observation portal, which has simple and advanced interfaces. And why is it important for our project to have access to this large set of telescopes? In 2012, we conducted a survey among active and potential PITER users to find out their needs and approaches they found more interesting and suitable for their teaching practice. Based on the results of that study, we came up with 4 different but complementary active learning approaches. These are predefined observations, didactic units, guided research projects, and open astronomical investigations. All the telescopes available in PITER have a user-friendly observing portal, which is a key requirement for educational programs, but not all the interfaces allow these 4 approaches to be developed. So let's look at each of them in detail. The easiest option to integrate into teaching practice, as it requires less prior knowledge in astronomy and is less time consuming, is to obtain and analyze 1 or 3 color images of objects that can be selected from a list. The type of objects we offer are regions of the moon, the solar system planets, nebulae, stellar clusters, and galaxies. For this approach, we use the Liverpool Telescope and the observing interface of the National Schools Observatory, which provides information about the type of object that has been selected and until recently only allow observations in which the instrument, filter, and exposure time were fixed for each object. To visualize and analyze the images, we also provide software specially designed for education, which in our case, it's called PeterSoft, but there are many others. This experience can be carried out on its own or integrated into a research project, as we will see later, and is chosen mainly by primary school teachers and also by secondary teachers of a variety of subjects with little or no previous experience in astronomy. And the major weakness of this approach when undertaken as a standalone activity is that it does not involve an inquiry-based learning process by itself. Another approach is the use of didactic units. Each unit introduces several astronomy concepts related to primary and secondary school curricula and provides one or more practical activities which make use of pre-observed data. The activities also serve as a practical introduction to the different tools of the image processing software. And some of the topics we introduce with this approach are the structure of the solar system, motion of the moons, the force of gravity, distances in the universe, and so on. The units we have developed so far make use of observations with the Liverpool Telescope, but you can use any telescope that allows you to observe the kind of object you are interested in. Didactic units are designed for a structure or guided inquiry, but can serve as a first step in a real research process by complementing the activities with the planning, acquisition, and analysis of new observations. The type of users who tend to choose this format are primary and secondary teachers of STEM subjects with no or little previous experience in astronomy, and also high school astronomy class. And among the advantages our users highlight about this approach are that it does not require previous knowledge of astronomy, and that they do not have to spend a lot of time on preparation because the teaching materials are already adapted to the curricular contents. And what we always recommend to teachers is that the didactic materials are used by them to guide the research process in the classroom, but not given directly to the students, as it would no longer be an inquiry process in the strict sense. And the last two approaches are those that correspond to real research processes, either guided or open inquiry. In the first case, we propose to the teachers the type of objects to investigate and the possible methodology to follow to select the objects, observe them, and analyze the data obtained. While in the second, it is the groups of students plus the teacher who decide what they want to investigate. These two types of projects are usually developed by teachers who attend our specific Peter training courses, and in both cases, we provide scientific and technological advice when required. Both the LCO and the Open University observing portals allow users to perform the open observations needed for this type of projects, as well as remote observations with the SARA network. And now the advanced mode of the National Schools Observatory portal, which has recently been enabled, allows the choice of filters and exposure times, and thus the development of simple projects. Some examples of research projects carried out by our users are the detection of supernovae, the characterization of variable stars, exoplanets with transits or stellar clusters, the confirmation of asteroid orbits, among others. The strength of these approaches is that students experience the scientific process in all its phases, and the disadvantage would be in the time required, both from teachers who have to be trained beforehand and from the project coordinator, since it's normal for schools to request individualized advice at some point. And I would like to conclude by briefly outlining the benefits and difficulties encountered by the teachers who participate in the project and attend our training courses. The vast majority highlight the enormous potential of these approaches, especially the last two, to develop active learning in STEM areas and to foster scientific thinking in their students and collaborative work. They also value the possible integration in multidisciplinary learning processes. But teachers also identified certain barriers that hinders its implementation in the classroom. These are mainly an extensive curriculum, followed by the lack of ICT tools and of technological support, the lack of support from the school and their colleagues, some colleagues, and also the low interest from students in some cases. So I stop here. Thanks a lot for your attention, and I leave here the link to the Peter website and my contact details. Thank you.